this is Deepak Parekh. I come from a family of bankers. My grandfather, Thakurdas Parekh, was the first employee of Central Bank of India. My father, Shantilal Parekh, was a career banker in Central Bank. And his two brothers also joined the banking industry. However, my uncle Hasmukh Kaka chose a different path. And on his return from London School of Economics, he joined Harkisan Das Lakshmidas, a large and reputed stockbroking firm. Since I lost my father when I was fairly young, it was Hasmukh Kaka who stepped in as a father figure for my sister Harsha and me. So when I returned to India in 1971, Hasmukh Kaka was the ICICI chairman. He had lost his wife Hiraben a year ago, and so I began staying with him at his rented home in Rasik Niwas at Chopati. I was privy to his persistent thoughts on housing for Indians, as I spent every evening at his home, sometimes over a game of rummy or sometimes with a bottle of beer, listening to him and listening to his most intimate thoughts on changing the landscape of mortgage lending in India. He would also talk about the evolving Indian corporate sector from his over 2 decades experience at ICICI, and I found these discussions fascinating. This was of course done in strict confidentiality and resulted in invaluable lessons in corporate education, all of which helped me in good stead in future years. Some years later, when he was due to retire from ICICI, he took the idea of a new housing finance company to Mr. H.M. Patel, the then finance minister, and also a friend. He got a thumbs up to start this post-retirement venture, as no financial commitments were required from the government. At the age of 66, when most people hang up their boots, my uncle's long-standing dream of starting HDFC finally took shape. At this time, I was transferred from Chase Manhattan Bank, Bombay, to Saudi Arabia. It was then that HTP asked me to consider the option of joining HDFC instead of going all over the world. I recall he never pressurized me into taking the decision of joining HDFC, the startup, and that too at a 50% pay cut. It was my tipping point. I needed a tangible direction and I needed to be bold. I took his advice seriously and made the plunge. I have never regretted it ever since. Housing finance was an alien concept for Indians in the 70s. Lending directly to middle-class individual households was looked upon with great skepticism. Although many frowned upon HTP's idea, it was a strength of his relationships with bankers and industrialists and the deep respect he garnered from this community that helped him to raise the first capital of 10 crores to start the business. He had personally contributed only rupees 10,000 at that time. HTP also handpicked a small group of trusted individuals, including Pradeep Shah, Mr. T.N. Nagendra and myself, as management cadre to operationalize the business plan. Likewise, he also chose the first board members of HDFC that included experienced people such as the late Mr. Keshav Mahendra, the late Mr. Jagdish Saxena, and Mr. Sirish Patel.
HDFC was established in 1977 as India's first retail housing finance company. There was considerable skepticism in the initial years surrounding HDFC's formation, as firstly, no one had endeavored to provide retail housing finance to individuals in India before. Secondly, at that time, there was no access to long-term funding, and thirdly, no foreclosure laws existed. Mr. H.D. Parekh's vision was to make HDFC a customer-centric organization. In fact, right from our initial days, customer needs define all our processes, even the design and layout of our offices. HDFC's business strategy was based on 4 broad principles. First and most important was feedback from customers in designing products and systems. Secondly, we believed that word of mouth was the best form of advertising, and there was no need to spend large sums of money in advertising. Thirdly, we adopted a learning by doing philosophy, as there was no model for us to emulate. And fourthly, we invested a lot of time and resources in training our staff. Every single employee of HDFC, irrespective of his or her rank, had to go through at least one training program annually, and customer service was a key subject of discussion in these programs. I clearly recall that the biggest challenge for us in the initial years was never about finding lending opportunities, it was primarily about raising resources. Banks and institutions were reluctant to lend us money as they were skeptical of our ability to recover the money that we had lent.
He nurtured the company with kindness. He was uncompromising in the culture he created for HDFC, which stands testament even today. Above all, integrity was non-negotiable.
I consider myself very fortunate to have known him personally for over 13 years till he passed away in 1994. In all these 13 years, never once did I see him get upset, agitated, or angry. Mr. H.D. Parekh was respected for his simplicity, his ethical behavior, his incredible vision, and his everlasting legacy. HDP will forever be remembered as the creator of capital markets and the housing finance markets in India. I will never forget him. His legacy will live on forever.
It is a story that must be told. It is a story that must be remembered in the history books of Indian business. 45 years and many accolades later, his legacy pervades HDFC's corridor with a deep sense of pride.